My husband of 30 years destroys our family after a cheating mistake I deeply regret. I never thought a single moment of weakness would haunt me for the rest of my life. 30 years of marriage, 3 kids, and a life we built together. But all of that seemed to vanish the moment Jerry found out about the mistake I made decades ago. A mistake I thought was long buried, a fleeting moment of stupidity that I regretted every single day. It all began when Jerry came home from work one evening. His face hardened like I had never seen before. He didn't kiss me hello. No smile. Just a chilling stare that went straight through me. "We need to talk," he said, his voice colder than the winter wind that howled outside. My heart sank immediately, and I knew what was coming. I had felt it for weeks. His distance, the late-night phone calls, the way he stopped looking at me the same way. Something had shifted. Now, I was about to pay for it. My hands trembled as I followed him into the living room, where the fire crackled, but the room felt anything but warm. Jerry sat on the couch, staring at me as I stood there. "I know, January. I know about what happened all those years ago." Every nerve in my body screamed in panic. How could he know? We had gotten past that, hadn't we? It had been 30 years since that horrible, drunken night. I had sworn to myself it was a mistake I would never repeat. I had buried it deep, and life moved on, until now. "Jerry," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Please. I never meant for it to come out. It was a mistake. I love you. I always have." But he wasn't listening. His jaw clenched, hands balled into fists. "Do you love me, Jan? Did you love me when you were with him?" he spat. I couldn't speak. The weight of the silence was suffocating. He got up, pacing around the room like a caged lion. "It was 30 years ago, Jerry." I managed to choke out. "Please, we've built a life together. Don't throw it all away for something that happened so long ago. We have a family. Don't do this." But in his eyes, I could see it. The marriage we had fought for, the life we created, was hanging by a thread, ready to unravel. 30 years, he muttered, his voice distant. "I thought I knew you." The silence between us stretches out, heavier than ever. My mind races, trying to find the right words, trying to reach him, but it feels like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, and Jerry's already taken a step off. "I didn't mean for it to happen, Jerry. I swear to you. I regretted it the second it happened. I've spent every day since then making it up to you." "Making it up to me?" Jerry cuts me off, his voice like a blade. "Do you think 30 years erases what you did? Do you think because we've had kids, lived a life, that suddenly you're innocent?" "I never said I was innocent." I can barely breathe. The room feels too small. "But I'm asking you, please, don't let this mistake ruin everything we've built. We can work through this, we can. Work through this." His laugh is bitter, cold. "You had 30 years to tell me. You lied every single day. You acted like nothing ever happened. Like our marriage was perfect, while you carried this around." His words hit me harder than I expect. It wasn't just the betrayal of that night. He's angry at the years of deception. In his mind, I've rewritten our entire marriage, turned it into a lie. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want to lose you," I say, my voice cracking. "I was scared, Jerry. I was terrified of what it would do to us, and I—" "That's your excuse?" He's pacing again, running a hand through his graying hair. "I deserve to know. I had a right to know. And now I'm left wondering if our entire marriage was a lie." My heart shatters at his words. It wasn't a lie. I love you. I've always loved you. But he shakes his head, and I can see it in his eyes. He doesn't believe me. Not anymore. Jerry walks over to the fireplace, staring into the flames. His face is hard, unreadable. I wait for him to say something, anything, but the silence stretches on. I want to go to him, to hold him, to fix this somehow, but I'm frozen in place. Finally, he speaks, but the words send a chill through me. "I don't think I can do this, January." My breath catches. "What do you mean?" He turns to face me, and in his eyes, I see a man I don't recognize anymore. "I don't know if I can look at you the same way. I don't know if I can live with this." "No, Jerry, please." Panic rises in my chest. "You can't just walk away. Not after everything we've been through. You can't let this destroy us. But he's already walking toward the door. Part 3. A Life Crumbling. I watch in disbelief as Jerry heads toward the door, his back turned to me like he's already made his decision. My legs feel like they're made of lead, but somehow, I manage to move, rushing to block his way. Jerry, please don't walk out, I beg. My voice barely more than a whisper. You can't just leave. We can fix this. We have to fix this. His hand lingers on the door handle, but he doesn't turn it. Instead, he closes his eyes and lets out a deep, shaky breath. I don't know how to fix something like this, January. I don't know if I want to. Those words slice through me like a knife. He doesn't even know if he wants to fix this. The man who used to be my rock, who stood by me through everything life threw at us, is slipping away, and I'm powerless to stop it. I step closer, desperate to reach him. Don't say that. Please don't say that. We've been through too much to let this end us. Jerry finally turns to face me, his eyes clouded with a mixture of anger and pain. You don't get it, do you? It's not just what you did. It's the fact that you let me live a lie for 3 decades. How am I supposed to trust anything you've ever said? I don't even know who you are anymore. His words hang in the air between us, heavy and suffocating. I want to scream, to shake him, to tell him that I'm still the woman he fell in love with, that nothing has changed. But deep down, I know he's right. I kept a secret that poisoned the foundation of our marriage, and now that poison is spreading through every memory we've ever shared. I'm still me, Jerry, I say, my voice breaking. I'm still the woman who loves you, the mother of your children. We can get through this. He shakes his head, stepping back from me. I don't know, January. I don't know if I can even look at you without thinking about him. My chest tightens at the mention of him. That night, that one horrible mistake, has grown into a monster I can't control. It's like I'm watching our entire life together crumble before my eyes, and I can't stop it. I'm begging you, I say, tears spilling down my cheeks. Don't throw everything away because of this. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling, Counseling won't fix this, he snaps. It won't take away the betrayal. It won't take away the fact that you've been lying to me for our entire marriage. I want to argue, to fight for us, but I can feel him slipping further away with every word. He turns back to the door, his hand on the knob. I need space, he says, his voice barely above a whisper. I need time to figure this out. Before I can say another word, he opens the door and walks out, leaving me standing alone in the living room, surrounded by the echoes of a life that now feels like a distant memory. The door slams shut, and I stand there, frozen, listening to the sound of his car pulling out of the driveway. It's only when the silence swallows the house that I realize I'm shaking. My legs give out, and I sink onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. How did it come to this? I look around the room. The pictures of us on the walls, the mementos from trips we took together, the life we built over 3 decades. Everything looks the same, but the reality of our marriage has been shattered. The house feels empty without him. The weight of what's happening presses down on me, threatening to crush me. My phone buzzes on the coffee table, but I ignore it. I can't face anyone right now. Not our kids, not my friends. How could I explain this to them? How could I tell them that I've broken the one thing I swore to protect, our family? My mind spins, replaying every moment of that night from 30 years ago. I was young, confused, lost in a haze of alcohol and bad decisions. It was one mistake, one that I had tried to forget, hoping it would never surface. But the truth has a way of finding its way out, even when you bury it as deep as you can. I wish I could turn back time. I wish I could erase that night, erase the pain I've caused. But there's no way to undo what's been done, no way to go back. All I can do is face the consequences of my choices. The hours drag on, and night falls. I sit in the dark, staring at the empty spot on the couch where Jerry used to sit. The silence in the house is deafening. It feels like a tomb now, a tomb for the marriage that once was. I try calling him, but it goes straight to voicemail. Again and again, I dial, hoping he'll pick up, hoping he'll come back, but each call is met with the same cold silence. I leave messages, my voice cracking with desperation. Jerry, please, just come home. We can talk. I love you. I can't do this without you. But deep down, I know he's not ready to talk. He might not ever be. And that thought terrifies me. The hours stretch into days, and each one feels heavier than the last. I go through the motions, picking up the phone to text our children, pretending everything is fine, but my hands shake as I type out the words. Dad's working late again. I lie. We'll all have dinner this weekend. I can't bring myself to tell them what's really happening. Not yet. Not until I know if he's coming back. I cling to the hope that maybe, just maybe, he'll walk through that door again and we can start over. But every night, the house stays dark and his absence looms larger. Days blur into weeks and still no word from Jerry. Every morning, I wake up hoping today will be different, hoping that he'll call, that he'll walk through the door. But each day ends the same way. Empty, silent, and cold. I keep texting him, leaving messages that go unanswered. I tell myself he just needs time, but doubt gnaws at me like a sickness. I've never felt more alone. The life we shared, the home we built, it all feels like a facade now. Cracks running through every wall, every memory. I sit at the kitchen table, staring at the cup of coffee that's gone cold. The chair across from me is empty, and it's a brutal reminder that I'm in this alone. I scroll through photos on my phone, pictures of us from years ago, smiling, happy, unaware of the storm that would one day come. My phone buzzes, and I jump, my heart racing. Maybe it's him. Maybe he's ready to talk. But it's not Jerry. It's my daughter, Beth. Hey, Mom. Her message reads, "Everything okay? You and Dad seemed off last time we talked." I feel the panic rising in my chest. She's noticed. Of course, she's noticed. I'm a wreck, and I've been pretending like everything is fine. But I can't keep up the act forever. They'll know soon enough. Before I can respond, my son, Alex, calls. His timing couldn't be worse, but I answer, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, honey," I say, forcing a smile into my voice. "How are you?" "Mom, what's going on?" His voice is serious. "Something's wrong. Dad's not answering my calls, and you haven't been yourself. What's happening?" My throat tightens, and I can't hold it together anymore. The weight of the truth is too much to bear alone. "Alex, your dad, he left." "What? When? Why didn't you tell me?" I swallow hard. It's complicated. We had an argument. A big one. I didn't want to worry you and your sister. Is he coming back? I don't know. I admit, my voice cracking. I don't know if he is. Alex goes quiet for a moment, and when he speaks again, his voice is softer, more careful. "Is this because of something you did, Mom?" The question hits me like a punch to the gut. My son knows. He's always been perceptive, but I had hoped to shield him from this, from the mess I created. I can't hide it anymore. "There's something you don't know," I whisper, the words catching in my throat. "I made a mistake, Alex, a long time ago, and now it's all falling apart." The silence on the other end of the line is deafening. I can almost hear his thoughts, the shock, the disbelief. Finally, he speaks. "Does Beth know?" "No, not yet." "We need to talk, Mom," Alex says, his voice stern but caring. "This isn't just between you and Dad anymore. We're family." Family. The word stings, because I've shattered mine. I close my eyes, trying to push back the tears, but they fall anyway. "I'm sorry," I whisper, "but I know sorry won't be enough to fix this. Not with Jerry, not with my kids." The next morning, after a sleepless night, I sit on the couch staring at the phone in my hand. My son Alex knows now, but I still haven't told Beth. The thought of confessing to her, of seeing the disappointment in her eyes, feels like another weight I can't carry. But I know I have to face it. Before I can second-guess myself, I dial Beth's number. My heart pounds in my chest as it rings, each sound dragging out the inevitable confrontation. "Hey, Mom," she answers, her voice chipper. "What's up?" "Beth, honey, we need to talk." My voice wavers, and I can tell she picks up on it instantly. The lightness in her tone disappears. "What's going on?" she asks, the concern clear. "Is everything okay?" I take a deep breath, bracing myself. "It's about your dad. He's He's been gone for a while now. We're having some problems. The silence on the other end is immediate and crushing. I wait for her to respond, but when she finally does, her voice is tight. What kind of problems, Mom? Why didn't you tell me? I rub my temples, trying to find the right words, but there's no easy way to explain this. Beth, I made a mistake. A long time ago, before you were born. And your dad he just found out about it. It's been really hard on him, and I don't know if he's coming back. I can hear her breathing on the other end, slow and steady. Then, she speaks, her voice full of disbelief. What kind of mistake? The truth feels like it's choking me. I was unfaithful. It was one night, Beth, years ago. It was stupid and horrible, and I've regretted it every day since. But your dad found out, and now? Beth cuts me off, her voice sharp. You cheated on him? Are you serious, Mom? The anger in her voice sends a cold chill through me. This is worse than I imagined. I didn't mean to hurt him. I didn't want this to come out like this, but he found out, and now everything's falling apart. Beth's silence stretches on for what feels like forever. When she finally speaks again, her voice is strained. I can't believe this. You and Dad were supposed to be the ones who had it all figured out. 30 years of marriage, and now this? I can feel the disappointment in every word she says, and it cuts deeper than I expected. Beth, I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it all back. She takes a shaky breath. What about Alex? Does he know? I told him yesterday. He's upset, but we're going to talk more. Of course he's upset. Beth snaps. We all are. How could you do this, Mom? How could you let something like this destroy our family? Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. The truth is, there's nothing I can say to make this better. I've already done the damage. I never wanted this, I whisper. I love you and your brother more than anything, and I love your dad. I don't know how to fix this. Beth's voice softens, but it's still laced with hurt. I don't know if you can fix it, Mom. I don't even know what to say to you right now. Tears blur my vision. I'm sorry. I really am. I need some time, she says quietly. I can't talk about this right now. And just like that, the line goes dead. I stare at the phone in my hand, feeling like the walls are closing in around me. My daughter, my baby girl, wants nothing to do with me. And for the first time, I truly understand the full weight of what I've done. The silence after Beth hangs up is deafening. I sit on the couch, staring at the phone in my hands, hoping she'll call back, or that maybe Alex will. But neither of them does. The emptiness around me feels unbearable, like the house itself is mourning what's been lost. For the first time in weeks, I allow myself to fully cry. It's the kind of crying that shakes your entire body, the kind where every sob feels like it's dragging you deeper into a pit of despair. I don't know how long I sit there, drowning in my regret, but when I finally stop, my face is wet and my heart feels hollow. I try calling Jerry again, but it goes straight to voicemail, just like it has every time since he walked out. I've left dozens of messages, pleading, apologizing, begging for a chance to talk, but it's like shouting into a void. There's nothing but silence. I pull up his number on my phone again, staring at it, trying to muster the courage to leave another message. But this time, I can't. I drop the phone onto the table, my hands trembling. How did it all go so wrong? I stand up, wandering aimlessly through the house. Every corner of it reminds me of him, of the life we built together. The kitchen table where we shared countless meals. The fireplace where we huddled together during winter storms. Our bedroom, where we once laughed and whispered late into the night. It feels like every part of this house is haunted by the ghost of our marriage. And now, it's just me, alone in the shell of what once was. I go to the bathroom and splash cold water on my face, hoping it'll help clear the fog of despair that's settled over me. As I look at myself in the mirror, I barely recognize the woman staring back. My eyes are swollen from crying, my hair a mess, and there's a deep sadness etched into every line on my face. This isn't how I imagined my life would be. This isn't the future I pictured when Jerry and I set our vows, when we built a family together. But here I am, picking up the pieces of my own destruction. Suddenly, my phone buzzes again. My heart leaps, hoping for a message from Jerry, but it's not him. It's Alex. Mom, I'm coming over tomorrow. The message reads, "We need to talk." I sigh in relief, but the anxiety follows quickly after. I don't know if I'm ready for that conversation. I don't know what Alex will say or how much more hurt I can handle. But I owe him that much. I owe him the truth, no matter how painful. The next day, I spend the morning cleaning up the house, trying to distract myself from the knot of dread tightening in my stomach. When Alex finally arrives, I brace myself for the confrontation. He steps into the living room, his expression serious, his shoulders tense. He looks so much like Jerry, and it makes my heart ache even more. "Mom," he says quietly, sitting down on the couch. "We need to have an honest conversation about what's happening." I nod, sitting across from him. "I know. I'm so sorry, Alex." He takes a deep breath, his eyes locking onto mine. "I've been thinking about this a lot, and I need you to explain to me how this could happen. How you could keep something like this from us, from Dad, for so long." The guilt surges through me again, and I struggle to find the words. "It was a mistake, Alex. A terrible, horrible mistake. I never wanted to hurt your father, or you and Beth. I thought it was behind us. I thought, if I never talked about it, we could move on. But it wasn't behind you," Alex says, his voice filled with frustration. "It's not just about the cheating, Mom. It's about the lies. You built our whole family on a lie." His words hit me like a slap. He's right. This isn't just about one night of betrayal. It's about the years of deception that followed. "I know," I whisper. "I wish I could go back and do things differently. But I can't. All I can do now is ask for forgiveness." Alex looks down at his hands, his jaw clenched. "I don't know if forgiveness is that easy, Mom. Not for Dad. And not for us." Alex's words hang in the air, each one heavier than the last. My heart pounds in my chest as I struggle to keep myself together. He's right. How could they ever forgive me when I've shattered the very foundation of our family? "I understand," I say, my voice small. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness right away. But, Alex, I never wanted to hurt any of you. I was young, I was scared, and I made a terrible choice. But everything I did after that, every moment of my life, I spent trying to be a good wife and a good mother." Alex's eyes harden. "You were a good mother. I'm not saying you weren't. But the fact that you kept this secret for so long, I don't know how to deal with that, Mom." I look at him, this man who's grown up right before my eyes. My son, who I've loved since the moment I held him in my arms. And now, that bond feels fragile, like I'm holding it together with broken pieces. I don't know how to deal with it either, I admit, feeling the weight of my confession. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to try and fix this, to make things right. Alex leans back against the couch, running a hand through his hair. "What about Dad? Have you heard from him?" I shake my head, the ache in my chest growing. "No, not a word." He exhales sharply, frustration etched into his features. I don't know what's going through his head. He's angry, obviously, hurt, but I don't know if he's coming back either. Those words feel like a punch to the gut. The uncertainty, the possibility that Jerry might be gone for good. It's unbearable. I lean forward, gripping my hands tightly in my lap, trying to keep the tears at bay. "Do you think he'll ever forgive me?" I ask, my voice barely a whisper. Alex hesitates, and the silence between us feels like a chasm. Finally, he speaks, his tone careful. "I think it's going to take time, Mom. A lot of time. This isn't something that just goes away. You broke his trust. You broke all of our trust." My heart sinks even further. "I know. But," he adds, his voice softening slightly, "you're still my mom. You're still the woman who raised me and Beth, and we love you. That's not going to change." I feel the sting of tears in my eyes again, but this time it's a mix of gratitude and heartache. "Thank you, Alex. That means more to me than you know." He nods, but the tension between us remains. There's a distance now, a gap that wasn't there before, and I can't help but wonder if it'll ever close. "I should go," Alex says, standing up. "I'll check on Beth, see how she's doing." I stand up with him, not wanting him to leave, but knowing I can't stop him. "Please, just talk to her." Help her understand. I'll try, he says, but there's an edge to his voice, a hint of uncertainty. He walks toward the door, but before he leaves, he turns back to me. I don't know what's going to happen with Dad, Mom, but whatever it is, we'll figure it out. I nod, though I'm not sure I believe it. As he closes the door behind him, the silence of the house wraps around me once again, heavier than ever. That night, I lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep refuses to come. My mind keeps drifting back to Jerry, to the way he looked at me before he left, as though he didn't know me anymore. The memories flood my mind. Our wedding day, the way he smiled when he saw me walking down the aisle, the joy in his eyes when we brought our children home for the first time, the quiet moments, the laughter, the love. And now, it feels like all of that is gone. I pick up my phone again, scrolling through old messages from Jerry, texts filled with love and care, before all of this happened. My fingers hover over his contact, and for the 100th time, I consider calling him, but I know he won't answer. Instead, I send one last message. I'm sorry, Jerry. I miss you. I'll always love you, no matter what happens. Please come home. I set the phone down on the nightstand, hoping, praying for a response. But the minutes tick by, and there's nothing. Just silence. Morning comes, but the weight in my chest hasn't lifted. The house feels colder, emptier, and every corner seems to hold a memory of the life we had before. My phone remains silent, no message from Jerry. I don't know what I expected, that he'd come rushing back after one heartfelt apology. Deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple, but still, the absence of any response gnaws at me. I make my way downstairs and sit at the kitchen table, staring at the cup of coffee I made but can't bring myself to drink. The sound of the clock ticking on the wall is maddening. It's been weeks, and yet every day feels like I'm stuck in the same place, waiting for something to change, but afraid it never will. My phone rings, and for a split second, hope surges. I grab it quickly, but it's not Jerry. It's Beth. "Hey, Mom," she says, her voice hesitant. "Can I come over?" "Yes, of course," I say, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. "Whenever you want. I'll be there in a bit." The line goes dead, and I sit there, anxiety twisting in my gut. She sounded distant, angry, hurt. I can't blame her. My daughter, who always looked up to me, is now seeing a version of me I never wanted her to know. The disappointment in her voice echoes in my mind. When Beth arrives, she doesn't offer the usual hug. She walks into the living room, her expression a mixture of frustration and sadness. I can see that she's been crying. She sits on the couch and I follow, unsure of how to begin. "Mom," she starts, and the edge in her voice catches me off guard. "I don't even know where to start with you right now. How could you keep something like this from us? From Dad?" I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Beth, I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to find out like this. I thought I was protecting all of you by keeping it in the past." "Protecting us?" she says, her voice rising. "How is lying to Dad for 30 years protecting us? You've destroyed everything. I don't even know how to feel about you right now." Her words are sharp, but they're honest, and I deserve every bit of them. "I know I've hurt you," I whisper, my hands shaking. "I know I've hurt everyone, and I can't fix it. But I'm still your mother. I'm still the woman who raised you, who loves you more than anything in this world." Beth's face softens slightly, but the anger is still there, simmering just below the surface. "Dad hasn't come back, has he?" I shake my head, feeling the familiar sting of tears. "No, he won't answer my calls. I've tried everything." Beth looks down, biting her lip. "I talked to Alex. He thinks Dad's going to leave for good." The words feel like a punch to the gut. It's the fear I've been trying to suppress, but hearing it aloud makes it feel all the more real. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Mom," she says softly, her eyes filling with tears. "Not for this. You've broken Dad, and you've broken us. I'm trying to understand, but I don't know if I can." The tears spill over, and I reach for her, but she pulls back. The distance between us feels insurmountable. "I'm so sorry," I whisper, my voice cracking. "I never wanted to hurt any of you." I was trying to hold our family together. Beth wipes her tears angrily. Well, it's falling apart now. The words hang in the air between us, and there's nothing I can say to make them less true. She stands up, and I can see the conflict in her eyes. Love for her mother, but a deep, festering wound that I caused. She turns to leave, her shoulders stiff, and I'm left sitting there, watching my daughter slip away from me, just like her father did. As the door closes behind her, the silence wraps around me again, suffocating. I've lost them, one by one. The people I love most are slipping through my fingers, and I don't know if I'll ever get them back. The days stretch on, each one feeling longer and more unbearable than the last. The silence from Jerry remains, and now, even the brief interactions I had with Alex and Beth seem distant. I feel like I'm walking through a fog, a thick haze of guilt, regret, and dread that weighs me down with every step. I try to keep myself busy, cleaning the house, organizing things that don't need organizing, anything to distract myself from the crushing loneliness. But no matter what I do, the emptiness always creeps back in. The silence is deafening, and every time I hear the faint buzz of my phone, my heart leaps, hoping it's Jerry. But it never is. One afternoon, as I'm folding laundry in the bedroom, the doorbell rings. My heart races. Maybe it's Jerry. Maybe he's come back, ready to talk. I rush to the door and fling it open, but it's not him. It's Alex. His face is serious as he steps inside, not offering a hug or a smile. There's something in his eyes, determination, but also sadness. I know this isn't going to be an easy conversation. Mom, he says, his voice low, we need to talk. I step aside, letting him in. He walks into the living room and sits down, and I can already feel the weight of whatever he's about to say pressing down on me. I sit across from him, bracing myself. Beth and I have been talking. He begins, his tone measured. We've been trying to figure out what to do. About you. About Dad. About everything. I swallow hard, nodding. I understand. We don't know what's going to happen with Dad, Alex continues, his eyes locking onto mine. He's really hurt, Mom. I don't know if he's ever coming back. And honestly, I don't know if I blame him. The words land like a blow to the chest. Hearing it said so bluntly, so plainly, feels like the final confirmation of what I've been fearing. Jerry may never come back. I know I've destroyed so much, I whisper, tears already forming in my eyes. But Alex, please, don't give up on me. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still your mother. I'm still here. Alex leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. I'm not giving up on you, Mom. Neither is Beth. But things aren't going to be the same. Not for a long time, if ever. I understand, I say, though the truth of it stings. But what about your dad? Alex shakes his head slowly. I don't know, Mom. He's not in a good place. I think he's trying to figure out how to move on. Whether that means coming back or not, I don't know. The lump in my throat tightens. Have you talked to him? Once, Alex says quietly. He didn't say much. He's keeping to himself. He needs time. I nod, but the pain is overwhelming. Time. Time to figure out if he can ever forgive me. Time to decide if our marriage is worth saving. But what if time doesn't heal this? What if time only pulls him further away? Do you think there's any chance? I ask, my voice trembling. Any chance he'll come back? Alex looks down, not meeting my eyes. I don't know, Mom. I really don't. But if you want any chance, you need to give him space. He can't feel pressured. He needs to make this decision on his own. I know he's right, but the thought of waiting, of sitting here alone in this house, not knowing what will happen, is torture. I just want to fix things, I say softly. I want my family back. Alex's expression softens, but there's still a distance between us that wasn't there before. We all do, Mom. But sometimes, things break in ways that can't be fixed. I feel the tears slipping down my cheeks, and I don't bother to wipe them away. I love him, Alex. I love all of you. I didn't want this. I know you didn't, he says, standing up, but it's happening. And now we have to figure out what comes next. He heads toward the door, and once again, I watch one of my children walk away from me, leaving me alone in the wreckage of my life. The door closes, and the silence returns, louder than ever. The silence after Alex leaves is suffocating, heavier than ever. It's as though the house itself is mourning, weighed down by the broken pieces of my life. I wander through the empty rooms, every photo, every piece of furniture, every memory a reminder of what I've lost, or what I might still lose. I know Alex is right. Jerry needs space, and pressuring him won't bring him back. But the waiting, the uncertainty, is killing me. I spend my nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if he's out there somewhere, thinking about me, thinking about us. Is he remembering the good times, or has everything been tainted by the betrayal? I grab my phone, scrolling through old messages from Jerry, rereading our conversations, trying to hold on to some piece of him. His last text to me, before he found out, was a simple "love you. Be home soon." Now, those words feel like a ghost, haunting me with what could have been, what should have been. Desperate for some sense of direction, I decide to call my sister, Kathy. She's the only person I can think of who might offer some advice. I haven't told her everything, not yet, but I know I need someone to talk to before I lose my mind completely. "Hey," Kathy answers after a couple of rings, her voice warm but cautious. "You okay? I've been worried about you." I take a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "Not really. They're bad, Kathy." There's a pause, and I can almost hear her concern through the phone. "What's going on? Did something happen with Jerry?" I swallow hard, the words catching in my throat. "He's gone, Kathy. He left, and I don't know if he's coming back." Her sharp intake of breath tells me she didn't expect that. "Oh, Jan, I'm so sorry. What happened?" I hesitate, feeling the weight of the confession pressing down on me. But I know I can't hide it anymore. It's my fault. He found out that I cheated on him. A long time ago, before the kids were born. He found out, and now everything's falling apart. Kathy is silent for a long moment, and I brace myself for whatever judgment or disappointment she might feel. But when she finally speaks, her voice is soft and understanding. "I don't know what to say," she admits. "I didn't see that coming. But Jan, you're my sister. I love you. No matter what, I'm here for you." Her words bring a fresh wave of tears, and I feel a flicker of warmth, even in the middle of all this darkness. "Thank you," I whisper. "I don't know what to do. I feel like I've lost everything." "You haven't lost everything," Kathy says firmly. "It feels like that right now, but you're still here, and Jerry, he just needs time. This is a lot to process." "I don't know if time will be enough," I say, my voice breaking. "He's so hurt, Kathy. I don't know if he can ever forgive me." "Maybe he can't," she says gently, "but maybe he can. You've been together for so long. January 30 years isn't something people just walk away from easily. If there's love still there, there's hope." I clutch the phone tighter, holding on to her words like a lifeline. "I don't know how to fix this." "Sometimes you can't fix things," Kathy says. "Sometimes you just have to let them heal on their own. Give him space, but let him know you're here when he's ready. You can't control what happens next, but you can show him that you still love him." I nod, even though she can't see me. "I just want my family back." "I know you do," she says softly. "And whatever happens, Jan, you've still got us. Me, Alex, Beth, we're all still here. You're not alone." Her words bring a small measure of comfort, but I know the real battle is still ahead. I thank her, and we say our goodbyes, but the moment I hang up, the weight of it all comes crashing back down. I head to bed that night, exhausted but unable to sleep. I toss and turn, my mind racing. What if Jerry never comes back? What if this is the end? Hours later, just as I'm about to give up on sleep entirely, my phone buzzes on the nightstand. My heart leaps into my throat, and I grab it quickly, hoping, praying. It's Jerry. It is. The message is short, just a few words, but they hit me like a jolt of electricity. "We need to talk. Tomorrow." The message from Jerry echoes in my mind all night. "We need to talk. Tomorrow." Those 5 words stir up a mix of emotions. Hope, fear, and anxiety swirl together in a storm inside me. My mind races with the possibilities of what tomorrow might bring. Is this the moment where we start to mend things? Or is it the moment when he tells me it's over for good? Sleep is impossible. I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying our entire life together in my mind. Every argument, every kiss, every quiet moment we shared. What will Jerry say when I see him? Has he already made up his mind? Is there anything I can do to convince him to stay? Or has he already slipped too far away? The hours crawl by, and when the sun finally rises, I'm already exhausted but restless. I pace the house, cleaning things that don't need cleaning, rearranging the furniture for the third time in a week. I can't sit still. My nerves are on edge, and every minute feels like an eternity. Finally, just before noon, I hear the familiar sound of Jerry's car pulling into the driveway. My heart races as I rush to the window, peeking out to see him. He's sitting in the driver's seat for a moment, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. He's nervous too, that much is clear. I move to the door, but my legs feel like they're made of lead. My hand hovers over the doorknob for a moment, and I have to take a deep breath before I can turn it. When I open the door, Jerry is standing there, looking as tired and broken as I feel. "Hi," I say softly, my voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," he replies, his tone flat. We stand there for a moment, staring at each other, the silence stretching between us like an unspoken wall. Finally, he walks past me into the living room, and I close the door behind him, my heart pounding in my chest. Jerry sits down on the couch, his shoulders tense. I take a seat across from him, unsure of what to say. I want to beg him to stay, to tell him I'll do anything to make this right, but I know I need to let him speak first. He takes a deep breath and looks up at me, his eyes filled with a mix of sadness and exhaustion. "I've been thinking a lot," he begins, his voice steady but soft. "About everything. About us." I nod, waiting, barely able to breathe. "I don't know how to process all of this," he continues. "I feel like I've been living a lie for 30 years, and I keep wondering, what else don't I know? What other secrets are there?" "There are no other secrets, Jerry," I say quickly, my voice desperate. "I swear to you, that was the only time. I've been honest with you in every other part of our life. I was scared to tell you the truth back then. I was scared I'd lose you." "Well, you might lose me now," he says, his voice breaking slightly. He rubs a hand over his face, looking exhausted. "I don't know if I can get past this, January. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way." The pain in his voice cuts through me like a knife, but I fight to keep my composure. "I know I hurt you," I whisper, my hands shaking, "and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it, if you'll let me. I love you, Jerry. I've always loved you." He looks away, staring out the window as if searching for answers in the sky. I keep thinking about everything we've built together. Our family, our kids, the life we had. And now, I don't know what's real anymore. "It's real," I insist. "The love we have, the family we built. It's all real, Jerry. This mistake, it doesn't change that. Please, don't let this mistake take everything from us." He's quiet for a long time, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. Finally, he looks back at me, and the sadness in his eyes nearly breaks me. "I don't know if I can forgive you," he says softly. "I want to, but I don't know if I can." The words hit me like a punch, and for a moment, I can't speak. The tears spill over before I can stop them, and I nod, accepting the reality of what he's saying. "I understand," I whisper. "I'll wait. However long it takes, I'll wait." Jerry stands up slowly, his movements heavy, as though the weight of his decision is crushing him. "I'm not ready to come back," he says, his voice barely audible, "but I'm not ready to walk away either. It's not the answer I wanted, but it's something. It's not the end, at least, not yet." He walks to the door, and I follow, my heart aching with every step. As he opens the door, he pauses, turning back to look at me one last time. "I'll call you," he says, and then he's gone. When the door closes behind Jerry, the silence returns, but this time it's different. There's a sliver of hope buried somewhere in the heaviness. He didn't walk away completely. He's not ready to come back, but he's also not ready to give up. It's a fragile thread to hold on to, but in this moment, it's all I have. I collapse onto the couch, staring at the spot where Jerry sat just moments ago. His words replay in my head. I'm not ready to walk away either. Those words, as small as they are, give me something to cling to. Maybe, just maybe, there's a chance to fix this. I pull out my phone, my fingers shaking as I text Alex and Beth. Asterisk, your dad came by. We talked. It's not over yet. Asterisk. It's the most hopeful thing I've been able to say in weeks. I send the message and then sit there, waiting for a response, hoping they'll find some comfort in the small progress, even if it's just a glimmer. A few minutes later, my phone buzzes. It's Alex. Asterisk, that's good, Mom. Just give him time. We'll figure this out together. Asterisk. Tears sting my eyes as I read his message. I'm not completely alone in this. My kids are still here, even if the relationship is strained. They're not giving up on me, and maybe, with time, Jerry won't either. Beth doesn't respond right away, but I don't blame her. She's still processing everything, and I know it'll take time for her to come around. I just hope she will, eventually. The next few days pass in a blur of uncertainty. I keep busy with household tasks, but my mind is always on Jerry. Every time my phone buzzes, my heart leaps, hoping it's him. But the days stretch on with no word from him. I try to remind myself that he needs time, that rushing him won't help. But the waiting is excruciating. Finally, on the 5th day, my phone rings. It's Jerry. My hands tremble as I pick up the call. Hello? Hey, he says, his voice sounding tired, like he hasn't slept much either. I've been thinking. My heart races, 1,000 thoughts running through my mind. Yeah. I don't know where we go from here, he admits, but I want to talk more. About everything. I don't know how to move forward, but I don't want to be stuck in limbo forever. His words are cautious, but they're not a rejection. It's another small step forward. I try to keep my voice steady. I want that too, Jerry. We can take it slow, however long it takes. There's a pause on the other end, and I hear him take a deep breath. I don't know if I'm ready to come home yet, but I've been thinking, maybe we could see a counselor. I don't know if it'll help, but we need something. We can't fix this on our own. Counseling. It's not a promise, but it's a start. It's a step toward trying, and that's all I've been asking for. I think that's a good idea, I say, relief flooding through me. I'll do whatever it takes. We'll see, he says quietly. I'm still trying to figure this out. I know, I reply, my voice soft. Thank you for being willing to try. We talk for a little while longer, about the kids, about life, but we don't dive too deeply into the hard stuff. I can sense Jerry's reluctance, but the fact that he's talking to me at all is more than I could have hoped for just a few days ago. We're not fixed, not by a long shot, but we're not broken beyond repair either. After we hang up, I feel a strange sense of peace, something I haven't felt since the day he left. For the first time in weeks, I feel like there's a path forward, even if it's a long and uncertain one. The next morning, I reach out to a therapist recommended by a friend and schedule an appointment for both of us. I text Jerry the details, and he agrees to go, though I can tell he's still hesitant. As the appointment approaches, I find myself filled with a mix of nerves and hope. I don't know what will come of it, but at least we're taking a step in the right direction. That fragile thread of hope I've been holding onto seems a little stronger now. When the day of the appointment arrives, I wait outside the therapist's office, my heart pounding in my chest. Jerry pulls up a few minutes later, and for the first time in weeks, we're standing face to face again, not as strangers, but as two people who are still trying to find their way back to each other. We walk into the therapist's office together, side by side, but worlds apart. I can feel the distance between us, the hesitation in Jerry's every step, but he's here. That's something. We sit down in the waiting room, the silence between us thick and uncomfortable. I glance over at him, trying to gauge his emotions, but his face is unreadable. The receptionist calls us in, and we're led into a small, cozy room where the therapist, a calm, middle-aged woman with a kind smile, greets us. Thank you both for coming today, she says, her voice gentle but firm. I know this is hard, but the fact that you're here means you're both willing to try. That's an important first step. Jerry shifts in his seat, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. I can tell this is uncomfortable for him, He's always been the type to keep his feelings close to the chest, but he nods, and that small gesture gives me hope. The therapist looks at both of us, her eyes soft but focused. Before we dive into everything, I want to ask you both one question. Why are you here today? What are you hoping to achieve through counseling? I glance at Jerry, wondering how he'll answer. After a long pause, he finally speaks, his voice low and measured. I don't know if I can fix this, he says quietly, but I don't want to walk away without at least trying to figure out if there's anything left to save. His words, though cautious, hit me deeply. He's here because he doesn't want to give up on us yet. It's more than I dared hope for. The therapist nods, her expression understanding. That's honest. And it's a good place to start. You don't have to have all the answers right now. This is a process. She turns to me. And you, Jan? Why are you here? I swallow hard, my hands shaking slightly. I'm here because I love him, I say, my voice trembling. I know I made a terrible mistake, and I'll do anything to make it right. I just want a chance to rebuild what I broke. The therapist nods again, and there's a moment of silence before she speaks. What you're both feeling right now, pain, confusion, doubt, is completely normal. Betrayal is one of the hardest things to overcome in a relationship. But the fact that you're both willing to try means there's a foundation we can work with. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen overnight. But if you're both committed to this process, we can start working on healing. Jerry doesn't respond, but he doesn't shut down either. He's listening, and that's enough for now. For the next hour, we talk, well, mostly I talk. I explain my side of things, why I made the mistake I did all those years ago, how I've regretted it every day since. It's painful to relive it, to see the hurt in Jerry's eyes as I speak, but I know this is necessary if we're going to move forward. Jerry listens quietly, his face tight with emotion. He doesn't say much, but when the therapist prompts him, he admits to feeling betrayed, confused, and unsure if he can ever fully trust me again. I don't know how to get past the idea that everything we built was a lie, he says, his voice strained. I don't know if I can see her the same way. His words cut deep, but I don't interrupt. I know he needs to get this out, to express his anger and pain, and I need to hear it. I need to understand how much I've hurt him. The therapist gives him space to talk, and for the first time since he found out about the affair, Jerry opens up about his feelings. It's hard to listen to, but it's also a relief. He's finally letting me in, even if it's through his hurt and anger. By the end of the session, we haven't solved anything. The wounds are still fresh, the trust still broken. But we've taken the first step toward understanding each other, and that's more than I could have asked for. After the session, we walk out of the therapist's office together, the tension still thick, but slightly less suffocating. Jerry stops by his car, and for a moment, I think he might say something. But he just nods at me and gets in, driving off without a word. It's not the resolution I wanted, but it's a beginning. That evening, as I sit in the quiet of the house, I reflect on everything that's happened. The cracks in our marriage are deep, but today was a small step toward something. Whether it's healing or closure, I don't know yet. My phone buzzes, and I grab it, my heart racing. It's Jerry. Asterisk, thanks for today. Let's try again next week. Asterisk. I stare at the message, tears welling up in my eyes. It's a tiny gesture, but it feels monumental. He's willing to try again. For the first time in what feels like forever, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we can find our way back to each other. The next few weeks become a delicate balancing act. Jerry and I attend counseling sessions, slowly peeling back the layers of pain, guilt, and betrayal. It's not easy, and there are moments when I fear we're not making any progress at all. Some sessions are quiet, filled with the heaviness of unspoken feelings, while others are raw, emotional, and even confrontational. But through it all, there's one thing that keeps us going. We're still trying. After one particularly difficult session, Jerry and I sit in the car together, neither of us saying a word. The therapist had asked us to talk about trust, what it meant to us, how it was broken, and whether it could ever be rebuilt. Jerry had admitted that he didn't know if he'd ever trust me again, and his words had hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, as we sit in the silence of the car, I feel the weight of everything I've done pressing down on me. Do you think we'll ever get back to where we were? I ask, my voice barely audible. Jerry doesn't answer right away. He stares out the window for a long moment, his brow furrowed in thought. I don't know, he finally says, his voice heavy. I don't think we can ever go back to how things were. But maybe we can move forward. Build something new. His words, though cautious, give me hope. It's not the promise of everything being fixed, but it's the acknowledgement that maybe we can create something different, something stronger, if we're willing to put in the work. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, I say softly. I just don't want to lose you. Jerry turns to look at me, and for the first time in weeks, there's a softness in his gaze. I don't want to lose us either, he admits. But this is going to take time, January. A lot of time. I know. I whisper, my voice breaking. I'll wait. I'll do whatever it takes. We sit there in the car, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us, but this time, it feels less like a wall and more like a bridge. A fragile one, but a bridge nonetheless. At home, the process of healing continues slowly. Our conversations are tentative, but there's a willingness on both sides to try. We're learning to talk about the hard things, the things we've avoided for so long. The hurt is still there, especially for Jerry, but there's also a faint flicker of hope, something we both cling to even in the darkest moments. Alex and Beth come over more frequently now, their initial anger starting to give way to cautious understanding. Beth is still distant, but she's talking to me again, little by little. I know it'll take time, but I'm grateful for every step forward, no matter how small. One evening, Jerry and I sit on the porch, watching the sunset in silence. It's one of those rare moments where everything feels calm, where the weight of the past doesn't press as heavily as it usually does. We haven't had a peaceful moment like this in months, and I savor it, not knowing when or if it'll happen again. Do you ever think about where we'll be a year from now? I ask quietly, breaking the silence. Jerry leans back in his chair, staring out at the fading light. I don't know, he says honestly. I try not to think too far ahead. Right now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. Is that enough for you? I ask, my voice filled with uncertainty. He glances at me, his expression thoughtful. I don't know if it's enough, but it's all I can manage right now. And I think that's okay. We don't have to figure everything out today. I nod, knowing he's right. It's a long road ahead, and neither of us knows where it'll lead. But we're on that road together, and that's more than I could have hoped for when all of this began. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting the yard in a soft, golden glow, I feel a flicker of something I haven't felt in a long time. Hope. It's fragile, tentative, but it's there. And for now, that's enough. Epilogue. A new beginning. Months pass, and Jerry and I continue to rebuild our lives together, piece by fragile piece. Counseling has become a regular part of our lives, and though the pain hasn't disappeared, it's no longer the only thing between us. We've started to laugh again, to talk more openly, to slowly mend the wounds. One evening, as we sit down to dinner with Alex and Beth, I look around the table and feel a sense of gratitude. It's not perfect, and it never will be, but it's ours. Our family has been through hell, but we're still here, together. Jerry reaches across the table, his hand brushing mine, and I squeeze it gently. For the first time in what feels like forever, I believe we're going to be okay. It's been a long, painful journey, and there's still a long way to go. But we're moving forward, step by step, and for the first time in months, the future doesn't seem so frightening anymore. In the end, it wasn't about fixing what was broken. It was about building something new, something stronger. And for that, I'm grateful. Thank you for following this story to the end. If you've ever faced a situation like this or want to share your thoughts, drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more intense stories like this one. What would you do if you were in Jerry's shoes? Let us know.